it's actually quite good, to be quite honest, because it's small writing and it's coming through quite well.
Yeah, I try to keep it as clean and clear as possible. So
yeah,
try and keep it as readable for you all.
All right.
I wonder what it's like.
I think life is in auto at the minute, guys.
That's what 21 is for. We kick it back into manual gear.
Very good.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah. We'll give it, what, another 2-3 minutes just to see if everyone's...
because people are still on, and there's Anthony.
Anthony's back. Good man. Yeah, I have a little surprise, but I can do it now if you like while we're waiting, just to get the juices going. Other camera clubs are using this tool for online stuff. Gary already knows this because I've sent it to him before, because it was part of a photography show we were watching. You can create up your own virtual galleries, walk around and look at everyone's pictures. Instead of just doing it as a slideshow, each member can use their keyboard and walk around as an actual gallery. Click on the pictures, it zooms in, shows who took the picture and all the settings if you want to put that onto it. We'll take a little walk around one of these galleries. I think this is a Japanese camera club that's up here. So we won't know who took the pictures, but we can all go, oh, isn't that nice? So it's a great little tool, and I do recommend that we might try looking into that for these virtual competitions or virtual shows, and we could even post it, you know, publicly to Mullingar or whatever, and let people log in and look around. It's just an idea. Oh, chat.
It's just from Sarah saying her mic go up.
Oh,
no worries, sir.
okay. No problem. Do you want to introduce yourself, Sarah? Oh.
No, the mic's not working.
Still not working.
No, still getting nothing. Okay.
Hi, Norman.
How you doing, Norman?
Hello, Norman.
Is Norman voice shy as well?
Yeah, Mike shy.
Hey, Kasha.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Well, ish.
How's your account?
Huh?
How's your Instagram account? And
Gone. Everything's gone. My business is fully closed now, sadly.
Oh my god.
And my bank account.
Oh.
I literally have nothing left now until next week.
Oh dear.
We have another new member on Anthony's screen.
Oh, yeah.
Ian, get lost.
We're good.
That's the actual boss of the house, I'm guessing.
That's the way to come to a meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'll kick it off then.
Okay.
It's not going to be super long or super in depth. It's just explaining the triangle. How do I cast this again? Present, isn't it?
I think so.
Everyone see that?
Yeah, perfect.
I don't know why there's little blue lines in there. Sorry about that. I couldn't get rid of them. I was trying my best to select them all day, and they never get selected.
Is your Russian friend at it as well?
Oh, he probably had a little look-see at it. Before we go on, actually, I'll just mention that I got hacked there on Friday night, and I lost all my accounts, my PayPal and everything. I had to shut down my bank and, you know, everything that was attached to it, my business accounts and everything. So everything is gone. So I do recommend to all members to keep changing your passwords. That was my little bit of a mistake. I kept the same password on something for a long time. And the reason I got hacked, because Column sent me out a little thing to check where your account got hacked from. Apparently it was Adobe. Got hacked a few years ago and it lost a lot of logins and passwords. And I was on that list, and I was just unfortunate enough to get hacked fully there on Friday.
Can you send that link to everybody?
It's haveigotpawned.com or something like that. I'll send it on after the fact, but yeah, the only thing that showed up on my list was Adobe, and he must have just bought it from China or whatever, and that's where I've literally lost everything now. So luckily 2021, I'll just reboot everything as something new and not under my own name, but
You can
now it's a
reinvent
lesson.
yourself.
Yeah. So for now, it's a lesson, and it's a good lesson for everyone else in the group. Change up your passwords, even though it's annoying, and we all just get used to the same old password, because once it happens to you and it takes 4 days to get in contact with PayPal to sort something out, you figure out you don't want it happening to you. But apart from that, I'm grand. I got everything back, and he's probably a bit annoyed now, so don't open any emails about me or from me, because he might be trying to outreach through my, my contacts. So just ignore any emails from or about me, and I'll set up a new email account during the week.
All right, we ignore you most of the time anyway.
I know, that's what this whole slideshow is going to be. So, what we're going to go through today is just understanding the basics and the basic terms. It's not going to go super in depth. It's going to be ISO, shutter speed, and f-stops. These are the main 3 things you need to know about photography to actually get better pictures. So it's the only thing that anyone will ever talk about, and you need to set your camera into manual to do it. So we'll move on. So auto modes do have their place, but best thing is to know why you're using an auto mode, and if something goes wrong with that you can fix it. Can you read that, or is the faces in the way? I'm not sure.
The faces are in the way.
Grant, I can't read it myself, so I have to read it over here.
No, it's fine.
It
Yeah.
looks fine. You just fiddle with the settings to get the faces out of the way.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, but you can use your auto modes as much as you want, but you get up to a point where you want to capture something in a direct sunlight or something, and you try your auto mode and it always fails. It's best to know why it's failing and how to fix it. So I always recommend everyone, when they get their camera, it's what I did, stick into manual mode. No matter how many failed pictures you get, it will get better. Just keep staying at it and figuring out what each setting does. And then once you figure that out, if you're out doing street photography or a wedding or whatever, and you go, I just set it onto sport mode or something real quick, you know why you're doing it, and it just saves you the headache later on. So I'll just move on. Now, to get into manual mode, I'm not sure if many, because the admin mode, there's a little dial on most DSLR cameras, and I'm not sure with mirrorless cameras where you go for this, but with DSLR, you just twist the top. I'd show you now, but my camera's actually recording me, and twist it over to M. The rest of them are just sports mode, portrait mode, night mode, and landscape mode and stuff like that. But get your camera into manual mode, and then you can start messing with your ISO, shutter speed, and f-stops, and that will give you a better, control over your own images. Because you can't do anything really creative with any of them modes. It's pretty much just point and shoot, and you're a photographer now because you're part of a club. You want to be fully in control of your image and know why you're taking it, and explain to other people how you've taken the image. So we'll move on. If I'm going too fast, anyone just stop me, because I just ramble on very quick when I'm talking. Now, Canon's layout. I didn't do Sony, sorry. So if you have a Sony, I don't know. Each camera layout is different, but generally this is what you see on the back of a Canon camera when you go into manual mode. And your 3 main things are at the top. The first thing is manual mode. Well, 4 things really, but manual mode is the first thing, is the big M. Then there is your shutter speed, then there's f-stops, and then you get to your ISO. These are the 3 things that you will be setting up. To get into that, again, it depends on your camera, and I do suggest you read your manual and look up YouTube videos off your camera being basically set up and how you go through the menus, because they're quite complicated, and there's a lot in my own camera that I'm still learning to do. but when you watch YouTube videos or read the manual, you get a better understanding. Now, Nikon. Again, I'm guessing this is what's on the back of a camera for a Nikon. Gary will probably have to tell you, or Kasha. I know.
Yeah, something.
It's something like that, yeah.
The newer ones, yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same
Probably,
thing again.
Probably the lower level cameras have this type of display.
Cool. But it's the same thing again at the top. It's the same 3 settings in the same order: shutter speed, f-stop, and ISO. And as I've been harping on now, these are the main things in photography. This is how you capture your image. It's none of the mountain mode. It's none of the sports mode. It's nothing like that. They're just manipulating these 3 settings for a basic photo. Now we'll move on. Now, but before we get into it, definitely read your manual or look up a YouTube video on how to do this. Set your camera to shoot RAW. And if you don't feel super confident on editing RAWs, go for RAW plus JPEG. At least then when you do get more confident in edits, you can go back and then you can start editing your pictures up to a better level. The good thing about RAW, Lightroom updates a lot and stuff, and when it does get updated, it has a better way of handling, handling the noise, handling all the different filters. So keep them, because in the future, even if the image looks too noisy, they might have a better denoising software running in the background, and you might actually save a picture or make it look a bit smoother. The other bonus about shooting in RAW, you have a better and wider access to your shadows, your darknesses, and your highlights, and your white balance. The white balance is a big issue because if you're shooting at the wrong white balance at the start, people look like Oompa Loompas and stuff, and if you do that in JPEG, you're going to stay pretty much Oompa Loompa. But with RAW, you have a big slider at the top, and you can go Smurf to Oompa Loompa. So it's always good to wiggle that slider around. Now, basic of ISO, and I still don't know what ISO means. Does anyone know? I know it's just a 3-letter term that everyone throws around, but I don't actually know the definition of ISO, and I just couldn't be bothered looking it up today. No one? Good.
No.
I'm not the only one then. That's really good.
I'll look it up for you.
Yeah, but ISO is the way your camera's sensor actually captures the light. A lower ISO means there's less noise and the image is much cleaner and much sharper. Well, not cleaner, sharper anyway, but a lot cleaner. There's less grain in it. Higher ISO makes you be able to shoot in much darker situations, like if you're in a wedding hall or something and they have dim lights, you'd really have to crank up your ISO. But that will introduce grain. Some photographers get around that by putting it into black and white and saying it's artistic, but it works either way. Sometimes you have to raise your ISO to capture super dark images, but don't do it if you're trying to do astrophotography, because that'll add in fake stars in the sky and make it harder to do. There's settings for that sort of thing, so we'll go through that in a later time. And as I said there, a bit of noise is better than getting no image at all. So if you think like, oh, there's a bit of noise in this, I won't bother using my camera, take the pictures. As I said, Lightroom gets updated regularly, and you might be able to denoise it, or you might be able to put it in an artistic black and white. And there's a few samples there. The old midnight selfie, as you can see, or a landscape with a low ISO and then a super high ISO. You can see the grain really in the sky on the right hand side there. That's at 6,400, which isn't even that high from modern day cameras now, because some of them can go way beyond that without seeing a lot of noise. But keep it as low as possible. I think Nikon can go down to 24 or something, isn't it, for some of the new ones? And Canon can go down to 50. I'm not sure about that.
Not sure.
Yeah, but if you ever took a picture with your phone at night, and you usually do it in automatic, you can see on the very left there the type of pictures you usually do capture it's because the ISO of the tiny sensor is really trying its best to get the light up. It's just really because there's not enough light in the scene, so the AI is guessing it pretty much. So basic rule of thumb, as low as possible to get cleaner images. Now, what the f-stop? So the f-stops are the blades on the inside of your lens, as far as I remember. And they open and close depending on the type of lens you have. The f-stop range is based on your lens. So some more expensive lenses can go to 1.2, which is super wide open, and that will get you like as much light as you want in a room. But there's a downside to that as well. The more light you get with a bigger opening means it's more blurry. So it's harder to get a sharper image on specific parts, and the depth of field is a lot less. The higher the number, the more things will go sharp. I will think I have an example on the next one. No, not this one after this. A higher f-stop on a bright day also will cut out the light and will make it easier to capture stuff that aren't overexposed, but that does mean a lot more things are sharp in the image. So you might be capturing a tree in the background, or people, or Uncle Jimmy way off in the background, you know, smoking a fag when he's at the back of wedding, you know, where he would just be a blur if you shot a more open f-stop. So it's an artistic choice and it's stylistic choice. You should really be thinking about the final image when you're picking your f-stop and working around the other two, you know, the ISO and the shutter speed more around that, depending on the final image you want to get, because you can't add the blur really in Photoshop. You can, but it looks fake. There's a nice smooth creamy blur when you actually take the image with an open aperture. There should be an example. Hold on. Is that chat a question?
No, it's just Jim trying to get his audio.
Jim.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the club might have a bit of cash for a mic for him.
Just while you're doing that, so if you think of the f-stop, your iris on your eyes.
Yeah.
So when you're at nighttime vision, your iris is wide open. That's your f2.8. So the black of your eye is wide open. When you're out during the middle of the day, your iris is typically smaller, which is your f2. So it just controls the amount of light that hits the sensor on your camera.
Yeah. There's the example of it there, as Gary was saying. The f2.8 is like wide open as the iris is, and the f22 is super tight. And there's a good you can do a good experiment at home with that. If you're trying to look at something in the distance, you actually make a tiny little hole in your hand there and look through that, and whatever you're looking at will actually become sharp, but gets a lot darker, so it needs to be sort of a bright light that you're trying to focus on, and it will be like pin sharp whatever you're looking at in the distance. It's great if you're wearing glasses and you forget them, because then you can do that. I know you look stupid and all, but you can actually read stuff from miles away doing that. It's basically the same as your eye. So does everyone understand that there who's new?
Yeah.
The two examples?
Yep.
Cool.
Yes.
There we go. Nearly finished. It's not that complicated really. Shutter speed is the final thing in the triangle, and you have to balance all of these out. And shutter speed is how long you keep your mirror or digital mirror open to let light onto the sensor. So this is more, if you keep it open for a long time, you're going to get blur in your images. If you do a real quick image, you're going to get a lot less light. So it depends on time of day, and it depends on what you really want at the end of your images. The longer you leave it open, obviously the more light you get in and the more motion you get if you're hand holding it. So if you have too slow of a shutter speed and you're taking a picture in the dark, everything will become a blur. And I'm pretty sure we've all taken a few of them where you think you're fine and then you look at the back of the camera and everyone's a smudge. If you were here last week, Marion actually posted a few images into the show and tell where she deliberately forced the camera to stay open longer than usual. and she made these beautiful colored swirls and stripes using flowers and things like that. What you use a faster shutter speed for would be sports, and I'm guessing wildlife as well, depending on the animal that you're shooting. Yeah, you need a much faster shutter speed to capture that. And when you do increase your shutter speed, then you have to mess with the ISO or your f-stop to balance that out to get enough light on the sensor that your picture is properly exposed. So we'll move over and I'll show you what I mean by that. So this is the difference between fast and a slow shutter speed. It's the exact same location. It looks like he's on a tripod, so it's nearly the same composition. On the right here, it's a faster shutter speed, so the water is being frozen. You can see each individual drop. But on the left, on the right, then it's like super slow. And this is only a third of a second, and already the water is looking like silky smooth and like fine art. And it's a pretty, like, you know, these are the type of pictures you do see on posters because they're nice and smooth and they look nice for water, and you can do them for other things as well. I'll move on. I have more examples here. Now, the problems with doing a longer shutter speed is obviously you get more light in, so you're fine, unless you get into this problem of getting too much light into your sensor. And then you'll have to buy ND filters, and they're like sunglasses for your camera. That means it can stay open longer and capture more of that moving water, more of the trails and cars and stuff. But you have to dim down that light so it's less intense, because if you leave it open too long, it'll just become white and overexposed and you won't see anything in the image at all. To get sharp images, I'll just go back there, off these rocks, if you were hand holding that, everything would be a blur. So obviously you need to get a tripod in there and make sure the camera is perfectly still before you take the image. Down there is a good little example of what shutter speeds do. The faster it is, the more still that pinwheel looks, and the slower it is, the more of a blur you get. It's not that complicated. Because if it came at you saying you got to learn a triangle, you'd be a lot more concerned and a lot more worried. But by breaking it down into its bits before we get there, it's a lot easier to figure out. Because if I just threw this triangle at you, you'd be like, what? But now you can sort of understand that you're trying to balance these three things to get the perfect exposure that you're looking for. And I'm going to go over exposure in a minute, but always think of the final image you want to take. Don't be thinking of it has to be always dead center in the middle of the histogram or anything like that. If you want a dark and moody photo, you take that. But you have to understand these three settings to get that before you take the photo. And
just
so
while you're
before
looking around, sorry, Adrian, just while you're looking around there,
yeah.
if the meeting dies,
yeah.
what is it, 8 minutes 55 seconds, just click the link again. It can bring you back into the same meeting.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, I forgot to say that. My mind's a bit all over the shop.
Yeah, first, so I have to go to another one, so apologies. I'll see you next week.
No bother, no.
You know.
Keep safe.
Okay, we'll do.
So, as I was explaining to you all, that you're trying to balance these three things, you can sort of see in the triangle then where you'd be putting stuff. Like on the left hand side there, you have your ISO. If you push up your ISO too much, you'll have to increase your shutter speed, so not enough, so the right amount of light hits your sensor. If you look at the shutter speed side, it goes from 1/250th to 1. So the 1 is 1 second, and 1/250th is 250th of a second. So the bigger number is technically the smaller one there. So you want to be going, if you want to do long exposures and do them silky waters, you'd be aiming more towards the 1, maybe 2 or 3 seconds. But then you'd have to be messing with your f-stop and bring it over to f22, f16 and higher f-stops, because you can't really shoot at f2.8 for like a long period of time without your picture getting overexposed. You'd have to buy so many ND filters to counteract that. You break your bank anyway.
Or drop them into water and break their ND filters.
No one's seen that. That was one mistake. What was this slide about? Jesus. Yeah.
It's like a long exposure, maybe.
Yeah, this is the picture's the long exposure, but this is just telling you once you master the triangle, you can do creative things with your photos, like the one on the right there, the long exposure. This is just a series of images of stars, and pretty much every camera can do this. And then you bring it into Photoshop and edit it down into one image. But that picture there would be made up of how many, like 20 or 30 more images on a single night, and then just flattened down in Photoshop. Sorry, I thought Jim was showing us something there.
No, you're okay.
Okay. Yeah, so that's just a few images and layered together to get that result. It's not hard to do. It was actually one of the first things that I ever tried to do with my camera, and I did it out my bedroom window. 2 bad results, but I did get some motion and I got a shooting star, which I was super happy about. It's all about experimenting and learning about every single one of them settings, and I do recommend that you play with them settings. We're working on digital files. You're not going to be breaking any bank or anything. You can delete them if they're fails. You can keep them if you think they're successful and to be edited later. It's always worth trying to experiment, and don't ever be afraid of going, oh, it's not that good, I shouldn't be doing this. Just do it, because none of us started off good. We all had to build up and we all had to learn. And even myself, there's a few times that I'm sitting there going, oh, do I even know how to do this? But when you put it down into the triangle, you go, yeah, it's not that complicated. It's just one picture to be sharp, and I'm hand holding it, so the shutter speed will have to be fast. I can open up my lens to a certain amount to blur out the background, and you know, that's pretty much it for a handhold picture. Now we have something next. The histogram. This is what a lot of people say is like the perfect curve for a histogram. Everything's sort of in the middle. It's sort of a graph. Right on the very left there, it's all your black shadows. Can you see my mouse? Yeah. So over this side is the dark side of the histogram. If you see all of this squiggliness over on this side, it means your image is dark. Again, you might want that. It's not a bad thing to have that. It's up to you at the end result. Don't always be thinking your histogram has to look like that, because there are a few people out there that will be saying your histogram looks a bit weird. It's up to you. Try stay away from clipping it though. If it goes too much to the black, you'll never get back any detail and it'll be permanently black forever. So try and keep it over about here as much as possible if you are doing dark photos, and the same on the other side with the highlights. The midtones are obviously in the middle and the highlights are way over at the left. And the height is the amount of pixels in that area. So if you're taking a picture of a cat and everything's highlighted around the cat, the highlighted section would be over here and then the cat would be in the middle. And you just measure it by the amount of pixels that's actually in the image. Basically, the higher up it is, the more pixels that's in that area. So if you start seeing a lot of white up here, it's too much. If you see here on this histogram, there's like a little tiny bit of white, and that really wouldn't bother anyone. And the same at the dark level. Now let's move on. It's weird using 2 screens. All right, there we go. And there's an example of what I've just explained. Some histograms will show like the 3 colors. I think it's 3 or 4 colors in there, the gray as well. It's the exact same image, the exact same place. As you can see, this one's a little bit too dark, but the sky is a lot clearer. Over here, everything's properly exposed. It seems fine. Over here, the sky is way too bright and it's clipped, and you'll never get that detail back. So always be looking at the histogram when you're taking your images and see where it lays, you know, and when you're shooting in RAW, you have a bit more leeway on these sort of things, thankfully. But if you are shooting in JPEG, you have to pretty much get the histogram correct. And I don't think there's much more. No, that's pretty much it, because I had to do all this today, sorry. But we have 2 minutes left. So can we leave this meeting and rejoin, and we'll go through the gallery together?
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Will that restart the meeting, or do we have to wait the 2 minutes? We might as well fill the 2 minutes with questions then, and then when we got cut off. we'll just rejoin and we'll start going through the gallery and we'll discuss like if we want to start displaying our own work that way. So does anyone have any questions, especially the new members? Don't be afraid to speak up, because it's tough to learn this sort of thing on your own, and normally we would be there to help you, but physically we can't right now. So
No, when you were talking about the histograms there, I was looking at my own camera and I just had to, like, I could see it somewhere, and then I just took a quick picture, and when it's in manual, the histogram comes up automatically, doesn't it, with all your information? Yeah, that's okay.
yeah, you should always just keep an eye on that histogram. And there's if we go back to the Canon, I know for sure, there's this little bar.
Yeah.
There, that's your exposure bar. I generally aim for the one that's left of the 0, because that's undershooting by a little bit, but that gives you enough leeway to drag and pull either way without clipping too much into the dark. So when you're looking through the eyepiece as well, most cameras have the little bar at the bottom. Do you have that on yours? Yeah, try and aim it just one little bar over, and then your pictures are easily edited.
Okay.
If you see that bar way off or not even registering, you know there's something wrong.
Just for the new members, I would suggest that you try tackle one of them at a time and fully understand what each of them do independently. So don't try learn it all together.
Yeah.
If you spend a few weeks on just looking at the shutter speed, spend a few weeks looking at the f-stops, and try just to understand and see the different effects they have on your shots.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to, there's a lot of this, so you're better off just trying to master one at a time.
The ISO is less exciting to learn, so I'd say do that last. Now, I have this little example for people as well, and I'll get you to send this out. Just make sure everyone's back first.
We are missing some, I think.
We're missing 1 or 2.
Yeah, we're missing Christine there. Oh no, Christine's back.
Hey, Sandra.
Hi, sorry for the late joining.
Oh, no bother. You just missed me.
I didn't get the message until a few minutes before I joined.
Sorry about that.
It's fine.
If you send me the email on Facebook, I'll get you added on for future meetings, and Fergus will put you on.
Brilliant. And will you be able to send some of this information as well?
We're going to be putting this whole video up on YouTube, so you can
brilliant.
watch whatever you missed, so don't be worrying about it. And I'll send out the entire slideshow as well, so you can go through it. It's, you know,
that's brilliant. Great, thanks.
Oh, about it. So I think everyone's back. Yeah.
Sarah didn't get back, but maybe she's gone.
Well, I'll carry on then, will I?
Yeah.
So this is a good little example on how the triangle actually works, and I only found it today, and this would have been a big help at the start of what I was doing. So you can actually mess live with this image. So if we say that it's a really bright day out, you can sort of see it's already overexposed. You can see the picture's starting to get gray. There's a lot less color in it, and you can't really do much with that. So generally what you do there is you need the shutter speed to be fast, because if you go slow, it also gets brighter, but the ducks disappear, you know, if they start blurring out, and we'll see that more in a second. If you crank up the f-stop, you start bringing back in your color and you get rid of some of the light. But if you start, drop out that, and you can start seeing the ducks starting to really blur out there because they're in motion. If you're taking stuff with motion, this is what will happen when you go at a slower shutter speed. I just thought this site was very actually handy to learn this sort of thing. And if you, so say you're stuck at f8, you can actually drop down your ISO to ISO 50, and you get a generally exposed picture, you know. So let's just mess with that again. If you go too far, where too dark, that's very dark now. But this is what the ISO does. It starts adding in. But the higher you go, you start seeing noise in the image. So this is a good little tool to actually figure out in your own head what's going on. And you can change the time of day to like cloudy or super cloudy. So in this situation, you probably want the ISO up a bit, open up that and drop down that, and ISO up even a bit more. You know, you have to get a balance on things, and that's still underexposed. But if you start dropping down your shutter speed too far, you're going to lose them ducks permanently. They're just going to be a blur. It says that it's perfectly exposed, but you still got grain. It depends on time of day, and it depends on sunlight and the lighting conditions. There used to be a thing where people always were going, oh, that's a lovely image. How do you take that? What are the settings that you took it at? And you just think to yourself, it doesn't really matter what settings I took this at, because you're not going to have the exact same time of day that I took this at. You're not going to have, you know, same camera lens that I have. You don't have the same equipment. You basically have to understand what's going on in the triangle to get the same images as other people, and to push yourself a bit further. Like if you go here, actually, hold on. So there it says it's perfectly exposed because it's cloudy. But if the time, like if I said to you all these settings, I shot this at 1/30th of a second, f2.8 with an ISO of 800, and then you go out and try and take the same picture and it was sunny out, you're going to get just a white screen. And if you keep just following random settings that people say to you, like a lot of YouTubers will say their settings and they're trying to act smart, but that's their situation, and they're not actually teaching anyone how they took that image. They're just saying, you know, how they took the image. They don't want you to follow in suit, because on a cloudy day, you're sort of still overexposed, but on a stormy day, it's fine, you know? The ducks are still blurred, but it's fine. So I send this out with Fergus after this meeting, so everyone can have a go and mess around with it. You just get your head more wrapped around with it. Does everyone understand that, what I've just explained? It's a bit easier when there's a physical slider that you can see moving, and you can see what it's doing to the triangle as well. And you can see the actual end result, which is very nice, because I never had that.
You can just pay attention to the f-stop as well. You can see the background getting sharper and more blur as you change it as well.
Yeah. So I have to boost that up, but yeah. You can sort of see the mountains are super sharp at f22, as Gary said, all right? But if you go to f2.8 and you increase your shutter speed, them ducks are like crystal sharp, but them mountains are now blurred. You know, so it's a good experiment for seeing what it does, because we're all locked in the house now as well. So it'll save you going out to the mountainside or whatever to figure out.
I missed a fabulous shot today. I was just coming home, and I live near the canal, and all the swans took off when they were in flight today.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah, I hadn't got my camera or anything with me. I wasn't ready yet, but it would have been amazing. There was about 7 of them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it would have been fabulous.
So something like that.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, but just to break that down, you'd have to have a fast enough shutter speed, depending on the time of day as well. You'd have to mess with your f-stop. Because if you go like, you can see here on this sample, them ducks are super sharp. But if you take out your camera and it's at f11, like, or even higher, you're going to get a black screen. And then you're going to be like, great, they're gone now. I have nothing.
Well, by the time I would have got the triangle ready, the swans would have been gone somewhere else.
But it becomes second nature very, very quick. But if you sit in your automatic modes, it will never become second nature. It's like driving an automatic car. If you drive an automatic car your entire life and then you're sitting into a manual car, you're not moving. You're stuck. You're there for good. You know? Yeah. You're not going to know how to get into second gear.
Yeah, no, I'm venturing off that now. I'm gone, onto manual and whatever now.
As I suggest to everyone, just get straight into manual and fail as much as you can, because that's how you learn in life. If you don't fail in life, you're not learning.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You can't get better if you didn't do bad, you know?
Yeah, true.
So, any other questions on that before we go and look at some Japanese photos? And we figure out if we want to do this ourselves in future. All good?
All good.
Awesome. Now, What room shall we go into? Because we could do this for our monthly competitions as well for other members or, you know, other clubs to also look at. And it wouldn't be a bad idea for the IPF to be doing something like this to promote clubs in these times that we're locked down.
Yeah.
So who votes for room 1 or room 2? Well,
I'll go for it. Go for it.
go for 1. Grand.
Yeah.
Start at the start.
You can do a guided tour and it'll lead you from picture to picture for yourself. But we'll go into exhibition mode and use your keyboard to move around and your mouse to look. So it's an actual virtual gallery, and I think this will be brilliant for our club if we could put this up on our website.
What's outside windows?
Yeah. But not much. That's what the COVID does to the world. Outside doesn't exist. If you click on an image, it brings it up to the right scale and everything and tells you it was Stephen Liu. And you can look up like all the things, and that was taken on an iPhone. Oh. And you can zoom in with your mouse wheel as well, and you can see like all the details. And I just think it's a nice way for us to exhibit our own work.
Yeah,
It might be something to look into while we're locked in.
Yeah.
We'll move on, will we?
Yeah.
Cool. There we go. You took a few pictures like this last year, didn't you, Fergus? Like foresty.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys I follow on 500px and Flickr do this kind of stuff a lot.
Because it's nice, and you can do these bigger prints, and you can sell them quite easily because a lot of people like them for the walls in modern houses.
Can you?
Yeah. Okay, so it seems like all 3 of them were Stephen Liu's, and they were all taken on an iPhone. And it goes to show that you don't need like the highest equipment on your camera or anything like that to take stunning images. This is gorgeous work so far. And the quality's there. You can zoom in as much as you can. You can see these little lads on motorbikes and stuff down there are walking. And you can pretty much count every leaf that's on the floor under that tree as well. And I'm not even going to attempt to read that name. But we can easily do stuff like this in Ireland, out at the lakes and stuff, if you get the right angle. You don't generally want to be pointing towards the town or the motorway because you'll never get a picture of the Milky Way that way. You generally want to face away from civilization and go out into the fields. If you go to the diving boards and point out, you might be lucky to get something like this. But if you go for the other side, looking at the diving boards, you're going to get a ton of orange haze at the bottom. But you should easily be able to capture the Milky Way on your camera.
I love the way you say you should easily be. That's
it's when you go with your exposure triangle, it should be easy. It's just slow down though, shorter speed, and away you go.
I've tried this, Adrian. It's not quite that simple.
That's fine. It's fine. As I said, you have to fail to learn.
Yeah.
We were meant to be able to see that last night, but I couldn't because it was raining too much. The Aurora Borealis was meant to be over Ireland last night, but I didn't even bother sending out an email to the club because I looked at the weather. Classic Ireland, you never see in the sky at night.
Yeah.
But that's gorgeous. And I think David O'Malley has pictures of the Aurora he took last year, and they're really, really nice. The only problem is he was doing it handheld, where it would have been nice if he had a tripod set up. So some of them have blurred foregrounds, sadly. You can actually see it in this image that the stars at the top are like pin sharp, but down here, it's obviously 2 exposures taken because down here they're really blurred and there's been motion. So this has been photoshopped where the top half and the bottom half have been put together after the fact. And that's a real telltale way of seeing it, but it's gorgeous. The colors are lovely. And that's some super simple.
I like that simple one.
Yeah. Like there's nothing too complicated in that. It's just exposed for the sky and the foreground will go dark. So take a few images, make sure your sky is nice and colored and everything's there. The rest of it will sort itself out pretty much. Whoa, how do I turn?
There you go.
There we go. Oh, that's really nice.
Nice.
Does that take, okay. So that's top down on birds. So that'd be drone photography, yeah?
Possibly. Could have hired a helicopter.
Yeah. I doubt many people have the luxury of that. For our club anyway.
They're flamingos, aren't they?
Yeah, they're flamingos. They're pink. Yeah. In Kenya. That's gorgeous.
They're all overexposed though.
That's harsh. The man rented a helicopter. The man rented a helicopter.
I don't care. It's up then. If he has enough money, that won't hurt his feelings.
No.
This is like very, it's like a Mars landscape up there, isn't it? It's very unearthly. If the birds weren't there, you'd swear it was a different planet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it seems that the same photographer puts 3 images up. Whoops. So don't right click when you're in there or you will lose everything. Sorry. We'll go back where we were. There we go. I still think the first one is my favorite image of it. There's weird patterns. I'm not sure if that's noise or what is that, or would that be the actual patterns in the water, sand, or whatever we're looking at?
Gosh knows.
It looks like noise, but it isn't because these parts are super smooth. Weird. It's nice though.
Could be just the foam in the water, maybe.
It could be. Where are we now? Oh. We've all taken this. You showed one like this last week, didn't you, Gary? But it was more side on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Nice, but to me, there's too much emptiness in the foreground. And you would have got away with just cropping that much off and making it a letterbox. But each to their own. That's the fun of photography. Everyone has their own styles and their own loves. This is the foam on the wave, isn't it? Because that's motion and water in the middle. And these are just the foam that is staying on the top, I'm guessing.
Could be ice.
Could be ice as well, yeah.
So,
yeah, that looks more icy, you're right, because it'd be blurred if it was foam, wouldn't it?
yeah. There's stationary and well, there's a little bit of movement in it.
Yeah. But it's nice to see what other camera clubs are up to, because this is a camera club we'd never actually be able to, you know, even Google because they're in a Japanese language. Looks like a car advert, doesn't it? You're just expecting the camera to go in and follow that car out and say it's the new Seat, whatever. It's lovely landscape though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely. It is. It's beautiful.
I don't think anything of that's overexposed either, so it's well taken. It's hard to tell on these screens. And there is one of the most famous crashed planes in the world. You see a lot of photographers taking that. And I would love to go there myself to take it.
Where is it?
Oh my God, is it Siberia or somewhere? I'll have to look that up for you.
There's Greenland, was it that? No.
Is it Greenland? It
No,
might
I'm
be
not
Greenland,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
Like
one
a
of
lot
those.
people take it. I'm not sure, but I think with the editing, there seems to be a little bit of a halo around the plane, just to try and brighten it up a bit much, you know, in Lightroom. But it's nice.
Go to the information on that. See, does he tell you where it
Oh,
is?
good man. Yeah,
Ah, he does. Yeah, there you go.
He does, so you can read that yourselves.
Copy that now and put it into Google Translate.
Oh God, no. It's probably come up as a recipe for pie or something. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Wow, that's lovely. Yeah.
That's one of the things I'd love to do is go take pictures of the desert. It's just fantastic landscape. Sadly, there's not many local that you can go do that at.
We can't go even if we wanted to at the moment.
But again, I'd crop just a bit off that foreground. That line there is very distracting. And if you just zoom in that much,
Yeah.
Your eye goes straight into the image without going, you know, ooh, there's something down here, the tracks of the car. You know, it sort of breaks up your image looking, you know, your viewing pleasure. All right, we nearly finished on this one, I think. Whoa. Yeah, this is the problem with this site as well. It sometimes get wonky. Any comments on that?
Not doing a lot for me.
It just looks like he was facing the wrong way on the cliffs of Moher or something.
It's the middle of the day too, like it's very harsh light.
Yeah. It's good that we can actually criticize because we know these people will never know. I like that, but again, the foreground is way more distracting than what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Because if you go in here, because you get cool little streaks of waves coming through the rocks and stuff, but that blurred mess at the bottom is a bit much. It's very distracting for me. Again, personal choice. Someone in the club might like it right now, so sorry if you do. Again, I've seen our club produce stuff 10 times this quality. I honestly have. And
yeah, just
like everything's well exposed and everything, nothing's blown out, but there's nothing there to look at. It's literally
the clouds aren't even
dramatic,
special or anything,
It's tranquil.
We've had enough of tranquility. Jeez.
We want a little bit more.
Yeah.
Even me as a novice has took better.
Well, honestly, our club has produced way finer things than what we've been seeing in this gallery. Way finer things, and we should all be proud of what we do. Just because we don't have these exotic landscapes, we're capturing stuff that are 10, 20 times better than this. And these are up in a gallery, technically. Again, to me, this is way too bright. Like, it just looks like it's a rushed photo. There was 3 cows as he was driving by and he put the camera out the window and that was there. The next one's actually pretty decent. I like that. I guess it's because we don't get many hot air balloons over here lately. So
yeah.
But it was supposed to be an air show last year, but it kept getting cancelled.
Yeah, that's the sad thing. That's a nice black and white. It looks very, very old.
Yeah, it does.
I'd say that might have even been taken on film with the way it's coming out, with the noise and stuff. That might be an old film stock. And then finally, a few branches. It's the same thing. Our club has done better. Marion had a way better picture of a tree on its own. Like, you can get the clouds looking far more dramatic and stuff. It's really a good thing to look at this and understand how good our members are actually as photographers. We'll go into the second gallery if we have time before we call it an evening and just see if they have anything better. Sorry, did I say that?
You actually said that out loud. You didn't say it in your mind.
Oh, no, it's fine.
I'll do this to highlight of my week.
I think the first gallery had the worst things because this is looking a bit better for street photography and things.
Yeah, good.
This is a good example. The shutter speed wasn't quite fast enough, but you can get away with it in street photography. You can say it's just stylistic. She's slightly blurred.
But it's nice that it's going through the arch there.
Yeah. Now, can I move this way? Oh, that's actually really nice. Again, it's an artistic thing. If you like that sort of style, you'd agree. But if you don't, you know, if you like your pin sharp photos, this is like throw it away. It goes by the photographer, really.
Yeah.
I just don't think that couple are doing anything that interesting.
Mm. The longer you look at it, the less interesting it is. I agree.
Yeah.
At the start, it's very capturing, but the more you look at it, it's just very bland. There's nothing exciting going on between. This shot's actually really nice, just from a quick glance. Because you got this contact with the child looking at the photographer, and then you have like everything else, the leading lines going in, and it tells a little story as well. And for the people who really like sharp images, it looks super sharp all the way through. So that would have been an exceptionally bright day with a high f-stop, I'd say. Can we see? Well, it's Austria, so maybe. Oh. Oh, this place is way bigger. Yeah, that's nice. Again, the stuff on the left there, I don't think it's needed.
No.
It's all about composition. That's your next thing to learn if you're, you know, once you get your stuff right and the exposures.
Yeah, the character of the guy on the bike is great.
Yeah, it's the story. That's cool. Yeah. That's really good.
Oh, that's cool. That's great character that has.
I'm guessing he's a smoker and just very annoyed he can't smoke right now. Just putting the.
He's lucky he doesn't have to have his mask on.
Uh-huh. It goes to show when that photo would have been taken. It's not a recent one.
You know.
Again, personal taste. Someone might really like that.
Mm.
To me, it's just me.
My OCD is gone.
That's more of a snapshot. There's so many more things you could do at that location. It's one of them things, the more you do photography, the more you look at a spot and you're like, oh, I could do something cool here. It's more, to me, as a snapshot of, I picked up my camera out of my bag, took the picture because I was watching me at the time. And I didn't want to look, you know, self-conscious about taking a picture. That's Canada, isn't it?
Seattle, is it?
Seattle, sorry, yeah. I saw the Popeyes, so I was thinking that. I like this.
Yeah.
Not sure is the horizon straight though. But would
next week's top.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see if we could set one of these up for our own club and see the pricing on it. Do you know, even for an end of the year gallery and do it online this year and invite people to come look at it.
Plug-in for it.
I don't know if there's a plugin. You can send the link out to people if you wanted to. Because having an end of year gallery that people can walk around where it's not physical might be the best way of doing it this year. Because as I said, we take better pictures than most of these. I like this one, but it's a bad example. We do take a lot better pictures than what we've been seeing on this site. And it'd be nice to show not only the locals, but on this you could actually show the world and other people and get your name out there as well. And, you know, could even sell prints. We're nearly finished. We'll try and view 2 at once for now on, just to hurry things along. So I'm not keeping you all night. I like both of these, but again, personal tastes is your own stuff.
Yeah, I like the one on the right.
The one on the right, yeah.
Yeah. I thought-
That's like classic Japan to me. I always wanted to go. It's
Just
Shanghai,
had a
1943 though.
just want a girl in a kimono or something there.
Where is this? Does he have it named? Just Old Town.
Coast.
Yeah. It's nice, but there's no focus. As a photographer, it's your job to make sure people know what you want them to look at, and this is just really jumbly.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that any photographer wants you to look at a corner of a building, because that's the only thing my eye's going to. Like this is a much better example of what, you know, you're getting the eye going straight up to this central point.
Yeah.
This
And
this photographer had an idea of what he wanted to show to his viewers, and he really got that. And this is really nice. And same with this. It's the, you know, the saying KISS, keep it simple, stupid. It works in photography as well, and this is like a very, very simple photo of street.
yeah.
It's got a man standing on a corner. Didn't overcomplicate it by taking the entire street. He just angled it right. I wonder if he's looking for his lost dog, and the dog's just around the corner.
He hasn't looked around that corner. He hasn't looked around that corner.
Looking for him all morning, and he's taking a break, and the dog's following him. Again, that's more one of them modern hipster type photos that doesn't register too well with me. But
No. Don't do one for me.
you see all them American teenagers going around with the film cameras, and they take photos like that, and they're thinking they're the hot stuff. No one can understand what they're taking photos of. This is a good example of the long shutter speed. You can do this with the trails of headlights and stuff if you go out on the bridges on the motorway, if you can, or down corners of roads and stuff. You can get these cool stretched out stuff. I think there was a member last year who took one at the library outside the courthouse with the bus. Was that last year or the year before? Oh God.
I think we do it every year, do we?
I think so. Now we have 8 minutes left, so we'll finish up soon. But you could also do it with the train coming in at night as well. If you get on top of the bridge, you could get a cool streak of light going through. I like that. That's sort of
It's still running.
loneliness. What'd you say?
The train's still running.
I think so. It's been a while since I left the house, so I think so. It's nice, but it's overexposed again. The kid's paler than the moon, like bit much. Sun hitting it. That's a nice little story. It's only a shame the feet are cut off. Just a little step back, and that would have been lovely. Don't know why, but I like this one. As I said, different tastes for different people. When was that taken, did it say? It doesn't, no. 2020, okay. I don't know why it reminds me of something from the 1980s, and you can just nearly smell the smoke from the brown leather and the old men.
Yeah.
That's a cool one. That's definitely modern day anyway, with the face mask.
Yeah, that's good.
I like that. And you can get these cool photos of petrol stations. This isn't the best one, but in foggy weather, they actually look pretty spooky and serene and like movie-like. This one's a bit too busy with the pizza place in the background. Ooh. Again, Nuala put in pictures last year that would put this to shame of mountains and stuff, of landscapes.
There's too much going on in that, isn't there?
Yeah. The actual pictures up here, really, for me.
Yeah, yeah.
You have too many telegraph poles, so.
Yeah, the poles.
And 2 last images. If I could get rid of the writing on the front. Apparently not. Sorry about that. And this one. This is India, isn't it? Where they do all the dyeing of the fabrics on the rooftops. I think so. Or China, it might be as well. God knows. There's no description, no? Nope, no description on that. But as you can see, when you click on a picture as well, you can request, and you can request a print as well. So I think it'll be good for our club to look into this anyway. Oh, look, a little seating area.
You can have a rest there now.
I think it'd be good for our club to look into that. We'll have a little discussion on the committee side and see. But I think the consensus for the actual members is pretty positive so far. I'm not seeing
it looks good.
It's
just need to figure out how to get it and integrate it.
It's different than a slideshow, isn't it? Because people just quickly click through a slideshow, but where you have to walk through something, you take a bit more time to actually look at it. Now, I think that's it for this week. Now, we've done pretty much samples of every type of meeting we could do for the last 3 weeks, bar like actual competitions and judging, because we don't have either or yet. I'm going to call a committee meeting next Wednesday, so there won't be an actual meeting for all other club members. It's just going to be the committee. So it's going to be a week off for everyone else, and we're going to decide if we're going to keep this up as weekly or every 2 weeks or whatever. And we're going to decide the actual schedule of the rest of the year. It looks like this is getting a bit more successful and a bit more popular. And we're uploading them to YouTube as well for anyone who is missing them, that they can watch it, or people who can't install Zoom on their PCs, they can watch it later. But so next week is off for everyone else but the committee. The committee is going to have a meeting at 7:30 on Wednesday, and we're going to figure out what we're going to do. So if you have any suggestions or what you'd like to see, send an email to Fergus on the secretary email, and just say like if you'd like to see tutorials in Photoshop, or if you'd like to see more gallery stuff, or if you'd like to actually participate in more competitions than just monthly. And we'll try and make the club into the vision that everyone wants it to be, because it's not going to be, you know, just us. It's going to be everyone involved. Sound good?
Yep. Good.
Yeah.
Now, I kept yapping so long, so I left it that we only have 2 minutes to ask questions, so I don't have to answer that many. So any questions? Good. I should have left you with less time.
Yeah.
Awesome. So as I said, Fergus has this recording, and they'll be up on YouTube soon as possible. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.